Chapter 11. The Man Who Chose Home. Odysseus drifted alone on the broken mast and keel of his ship. There was no sail to guide him. No crew remained to follow his orders. He could only hold the timber and survive. Then the wind changed. It drove him back toward the passage he had escaped days earlier. Odysseus recognized the cliffs. Ahead, the sea began to sink. Charybdis was pulling the water into its mouth. The current seized the wreckage and dragged it forward. Odysseus searched the cliff above the whirlpool. A fig tree grew from the rock, its branches hanging over the water. As the timber passed beneath it, he leaped. His hands caught a branch. The mast and keel disappeared below him. Odysseus hung above the whirlpool, unable to climb the cliff and unwilling to release his grip. He waited. At last, Charybdis released the sea. The wreckage rose from the depths. Odysseus dropped onto it and paddled away with his hands. For 9 days, the current carried him. On the 10th night, he reached an island. He crawled through the surf and collapsed on the shore. The island was called Ogygia. It belonged to Calypso. She found Odysseus half dead and cared for him until his strength returned. She gave him food, clothing, and shelter, but she would not let him leave. There was no ship on the island, no crew, no harbor from which he could escape. Ogygia gave Odysseus everything except freedom. Days became months. Months became years. Odysseus spent his days beside the sea, staring toward a home he could not reach. He could not overpower Calypso. He could not trick his way across the water. For the first time in his journey, intelligence and courage gave him no path forward. He could only endure. 7 years passed. Then Hermes arrived carrying an order from Zeus. Calypso had to release Odysseus. She did not want to obey, but she could not defy the command. Calypso found Odysseus sitting beside the sea and told him he could leave. Odysseus did not trust her sudden change. He demanded that she swear she was not sending him into another trap. Calypso gave her oath. She promised him tools and supplies to build a vessel. But before he began, she warned him that more suffering waited beyond the island. If he stayed, she would make him immortal. He would never grow old. He would never weaken. He would never die. Odysseus understood what she was offering. He had seen men crushed by giants. He had watched Scylla tear sailors from his deck. He had watched the sea swallow the last of his crew. Calypso could protect him from the death that waited for every mortal man. But she could not give him Ithaca. She could not replace Penelope. She could not restore the years he had lost with his son. Odysseus admitted that Calypso was more beautiful than his mortal wife. But beauty and immortality were not enough. He would rather suffer and return home as an aging man than live forever on an island that was not his. Calypso accepted his decision. Odysseus entered the forest and cut down 20 trees. He shaped the timber, joined the beams, and built the strongest vessel one man could make. After 4 days, it was ready. On the 5th, Calypso gave him food, water, clothing, and a favorable wind. Odysseus pushed away from Ogygia. For the first time in 7 years, the island grew smaller behind him. He followed the stars and held his course toward home. For 17 days, the crossing remained clear. On the 18th, mountains appeared in the distance. Then Poseidon saw him. Clouds covered the sky. Wind struck from every direction. A wave threw Odysseus into the sea and broke the mast. He fought his way back to the damaged vessel and held on as the storm tore it apart. A sea goddess named Ino appeared and gave him a veil that would protect him from drowning. She told him to abandon the wreckage and swim for land. Odysseus hesitated. The timber beneath him was failing, but it was real. The veil was another promise from a divine stranger. He remained on the wreckage until a wave scattered the beams beneath him. Only then did he tie the veil around his body and swim. For 2 days, Odysseus fought through the sea. When he reached the coast, waves drove him against sharp rocks. He seized the cliff, but the next wave ripped him away and tore the skin from his hands. Another attempt would kill him. Odysseus changed direction and searched the coast. He found a river flowing into the sea and struggled into the calmer water. After reaching the bank, he returned the veil and dragged himself beneath the trees. His clothing was torn and soaked from the storm. He covered himself with leaves for warmth and slept. Odysseus had reached the land of the Phaeacians. That night, Athena sent a dream to Princess Nausicaa, leading her and her servants to the river. Their voices woke Odysseus the next morning. He emerged from the trees exhausted. The servants fled. Nausicaa remained. Odysseus considered falling at her knees, but approaching too closely might frighten her. He kept his distance and spoke carefully. He asked for clean clothing, directions, and mercy. Nausicaa ordered her servants to return. They gave Odysseus food, oil, and clean clothing. She then explained how to reach the palace of her parents, King Alcinous and Queen Arete. Odysseus entered the city concealed by Athena's mist. He approached Arete and asked to be carried home. He did not reveal his name. He presented himself only as a traveler who had survived the sea. The Phaeacians welcomed him as a guest. King Alcinous promised him passage before learning who he was. During a feast, the singer Demodocus performed stories from the Trojan War. Odysseus covered his face and wept. Later, he praised the singer for describing the war as though he had witnessed it himself. Then he asked for the story of the wooden horse. He wanted to test whether Demodocus knew the truth. The singer told how the horse entered Troy and how the Greek warriors hidden inside destroyed the city. Again, Odysseus wept. Alcinous noticed. He stopped the song and asked his guest to reveal his name. Odysseus could no longer remain hidden. He was Odysseus, king of Ithaca, the man who had led the warriors hidden inside the wooden horse, the man Poseidon had kept from home. Then he told the Phaeacians where he had been. He spoke of the Cyclones and the Lotus Eaters. He told them how he escaped from the Cyclops and how his pride had brought Poseidon's curse upon him. He told them about Aeolus, the Laestrygonians, Circe, the land of the dead, the Sirens, Scylla, and the cattle of Helios. He described the destruction of his final ship and his escape from Charybdis. The Phaeacians had already heard how Calypso held him. Odysseus did not tell the story as a king celebrating his victories. Too many of those victories had ended with dead men. By the time he finished, the hall was silent. The Phaeacians now understood who sat before them. Odysseus had survived the journey. Now he had become the man who would decide how it was remembered. King Alcinous kept his promise. The Phaeacians loaded one of their fastest ships with gifts and prepared a bed for Odysseus. He had spent years forcing himself to remain awake through danger. Now he entered a deep sleep. The Phaeacian ship crossed the sea and reached Ithaca before he awoke. The sailors carried him onto the shore, placed his gifts beside him, and departed. An old prophecy had warned that Poseidon would punish the Phaeacians for safely carrying strangers across the sea. As their ship approached home, Poseidon turned it to stone. Helping Odysseus had carried a cost. He knew nothing of it. Odysseus woke alone. Athena had covered Ithaca in mist, and he did not recognize the coast. The Phaeacian ship was gone. Odysseus counted his gifts and suspected he had been deceived. Then a young shepherd approached. Odysseus did not know it was Athena. When the shepherd told him he had reached Ithaca, Odysseus hid his relief and invented a false identity. Even on his own island, he would not trust a stranger without testing them first. Athena revealed herself. She cleared the mist. Odysseus recognized the harbor, the cliffs, and the trees. After 20 years, he had returned home. But he did not run toward his palace. He did not call for Penelope. He did not announce that the king had returned. Athena helped him hide the Phaeacian treasure inside a cave. Then she told him what had happened during his absence. Suitors had occupied his home. They consumed his food, slaughtered his animals, and competed to marry Penelope. They planned to take his household and kill Telemachus. If Odysseus entered the palace openly, They would surround him before he knew their numbers or loyalties. Home had become another enemy position. Athena changed his appearance. His skin wrinkled, his hair thinned, his clothing became torn and filthy. The king of Ithaca disappeared. An elderly beggar stood in his place. Athena sent him to Eumaeus, the loyal swineherd. There Odysseus would gather information and wait for Telemachus to return. Odysseus began walking inland. For years, reaching Ithaca had been the purpose behind every decision. Now he had reached it. But returning home and reclaiming it were not the same. The voyage across the sea was over. The war inside his own house was about to begin.